For most of my life, being a man meant only a few things. Stay strong. Don't show fear. Don't need anyone. I heard it. I heard it from culture, locker rooms, throwaway comments. On the surface, it sounds like a simple and clear idea. As I got older and I started to read a lot more, this version, this idea started to feel hollow. It didn't match real life. It didn't match the real people I admired. What if? What if real manhood looked nothing like we were told? In this video, I want to walk through a few stories that rewrote my understanding of strength, courage, and what it means to be a man. Society today gives young men a very simple script to follow. The simplicity feels magnetic when you're young and lost. It feels like clear instructions for life and for manhood. The secret inner reality is you're afraid a lot. You're afraid of not being good enough. You're afraid of not measuring up. Does this sound familiar? The script slowly shifts from a guide into a cage. Any signs a man shows fear looks like a failure. The world told me how to be a man, but it never told me how to be a human. I'm Zach, and I want to welcome you all to the Literary Tailor, where we have great books and even better conversations. This journey through books uncovered a more honest way to be a human, and a far more hopeful way to be a human as well. And it all starts with a story about a very, very small man facing a very, very big obstacle. The first book I want to talk about is Lord of the Rings. As we expect, a lot of brave warriors in this one, mighty warriors, the bravest of the brave, huge battles. It's the real lesson, the hidden lesson that we should pay attention to. And it lies with the hobbits, especially our favorite, Frodo Baggins. As we meet Frodo, we can tell he doesn't look like a hero. He doesn't measure up. He's just totally out of his depth for this journey. And I can relate to this very much, being just overwhelmed with a lot of things in my life. As society puts it, puff out your chest. Act like it's no big deal. Don't be afraid. Tolkien, on the other hand, says acknowledges your fear, but still you act on it. As we meet Frodo and follow him through his journey, we can tell he's afraid. He's not good at combat. He's not a warrior. He's not a knight. He's not a wizard. He's just a simple, small hobbit in a very large pond. He accepts the burden of the ring anyways. What makes him so heroic isn't because he's fearless. No, he's terrified. He even acknowledges this. But because he still continues to make through with this idea, this promise to destroy the ring. And he faces this evil that haunts him, knowing that it will cost him his life. What Tolkien does when he explores this idea of seed of courage, it's hidden in the most timid hobbit. He explores this idea of real manhood, which is, it's not about being the hero. It's about facing that courage, having that courage grow, even when you want to give up and run away. Through Frodo, through Tolkien, we see that real manhood is about accepting your fear, but still continue with the journey. So, is courage the thing that refines manhood? No, there's also strength. However, the strength is on the inside. And I think the best character to describe the inner strength is Atticus Finch. There are few characters in literature that show more integrity than Atticus Finch. Atticus is a lawyer in the Deep South in 1930. What he does, what makes him so powerful, is he's defending Tom Robinson, a black man that's falsely accused of a terrible crime. If you want to hear about that crime, I suggest reading To Kill a Mockingbird. The community is against him from the start. He's not supposed to be defending this man. However, Atticus chooses he has to defend this man. One of the most powerful quotes that Atticus says to his kids is this: real courage isn't a man with a gun in his hand. It's knowing you're licked before you begin, but start anyway, and seeing it through no matter what. Almost sounds like Frodo, doesn't it? What makes Atticus so interesting, so powerful of a character, isn't his physical strength, it's his moral strength. The quiet, unshakable resolve that he has to do the right thing. And the right thing is to defend Tom Robinson. He stands up even when the community, remember this is 1930 South, the community hates him and hates what he's doing. And they threaten him and his kids that he needs to stop and step back from being this guy's lawyer. He doesn't. He continues to fight. He knows he'll likely lose this case. Obviously, this case is very much against him from the start. He still continues with this case to give Tom Robinson the true opportunity that he really deserves. And as he puts it, simply because we were licked 100 years before we started is no reason for us not to try to win. It's through Atticus Finch that we see where the real strength of masculinity lies. And it's not physical, it's the inner strength. It's the character and the integrity that really defines what a true man is. It's having the ability to listen, especially when it's the hardest. Masculinity isn't about imposing yourself on others. It's about standing up for what's right, no matter the cost. As we continue, there's a new idea, a new question that goes along with courage and inner strength. And this question is, what happens? What happens when you fail? What happens when you fail? This question always is the back of my mind because society belittled this idea because it treats failure as only a one-shot deal. Once you fail, there's no redemption arc here. However, to me, failure is one of the best things that can happen to people because failure is the greatest teacher of life, or at least one of them. And this will bring me to my next book, Les Miserables. It's about a man named Jean who steals a loaf of bread and is sent to prison for 19 years. When he gets out, he's labeled as a criminal, and being a criminal becomes part of his identity. It hardens him, it bitters him. He hates the society around him. However, just this small event, a small, very small event, a single act of compassion for Jean changes his life and he sets him on a new path for redemption. Jean changes his name. He becomes a successful businessman and even a respected mayor. He becomes a loving father for an adopted daughter. However, a man brings his past up once again. This man believes that people, especially criminals, can never change. As an alcoholic, I often heard this idea. Being an alcoholic, I can never change. And I can relate to Gene a lot here. It's this idea that Gene shows of this redemption idea, this true idea of redemption, because he doesn't allow being called a criminal, especially since it's part of his past, to define him now. He refuses to let this past identity define his future any longer. What can we learn from Gene here in this book? It's that manhood is forged in a daily struggle to just be a good person. Masculinity becomes sacrifice, compassion, and relentless drive to be a better man every day. I do this every day too, as being a recovering alcoholic. This is a real redemption idea for me. The identity to be a static trophy. It's a process and a journey. There's always room for failure. There's going to be a lot of failure for everyone, but it's how you act on those failures. You seek those redemptions no matter what. Yes, these books don't give us a checklist to be how to be a man or be a human, in fact. They just offer a mirror to our own shared humanity. They show us flaws, scared and struggling people just trying to survive. However, it's through their courage, their integrity, and love that really shines through and reflects and shows how to be a real man, a real human. They give us permission to be a human, to be vulnerable, to face failure and accept it with a smile on our face and say, let's go again. As mentioned earlier, masculinity isn't those three traits. And it's through these stories, and trust me, there's a lot more stories that show how masculinity and humanity isn't just a rigid performance, one fits all. It's a helpful path that we walk with room of fear, a moral conviction, and the grace to start over every day with a smile on our face. I have to ask, what are some books that helped shape your life to understand it better? Whether you're a man or woman, please drop any of the books in the comments, and let's get this conversation even going longer and more honest. And this is a tiny channel, so please like and subscribe so we can continue these wonderful conversations. I am Zach, and I want to welcome you all to the Literary Tailor, where we have great books and even better conversations. Until then, happy reading, guys.